In a small mountain town, winters were long and heavy. Snow blanketed the rooftops, and the cold air kept most people indoors. Yet every evening, a soft warm glow spread through the narrow streets, lanterns, each one handmade by an old craftsman named Kareem. Kareem lived alone in a modest wooden cottage at the edge of town. He wasn't rich, but he had a gift. He could take scraps of wood and bits of glass and create beautiful lanterns that burned steadily even in the harshest winds. Children would stop by his shop to watch him work, and travelers carried his lanterns far beyond the mountains. One winter, Kareem took on a young apprentice named Ayan. Ayan was restless and full of complaints. He had grown up in the city, where lights came from switches and batteries, and he couldn't understand why anyone would waste time carving frames or polishing glass by hand. Why not buy machines? He would ask. Why not hurry? Kareem would only smile and keep working. The boy's impatience grew. The mountain was too cold. The work was too slow. The pay was too small. One evening, after a long day of carving, Ayan slammed his tools down. "Why do you bother?" he demanded. "These lanterns are old-fashioned. People want cheap and fast. Nobody notices the difference." Kareem wiped his hands on a cloth and led the boy outside. Night had fallen. Snow glimmered under a sky heavy with stars. Down the slope, dozens of homes glowed with the soft light of Kareem's lanterns. "Look," the old man said quietly. "Every light you see came from these hands. Even when the power lines freeze, these lanterns keep burning. They guide people home. That's why I bother." Ayan said nothing. The next morning, Kareem surprised him with a task. "You'll build one lantern from start to finish," he said. "Use the best of what you've learned." For days the boy worked. His hands blistered, his patience wore thin. Several times he nearly gave up, but something kept him going, the memory of that snowy night, the sight of the glowing town. When at last the lantern was finished, Kareem placed it on the windowsill and lit it. The flame flickered, caught, and burned bright. The boy stared at his creation. It was simple, but sturdy. The glass shone. For the first time, Ayan felt proud of something he had built with his own hands. Later that week, a fierce storm hit the mountain. Power went out across the town. People lit Kareem's lanterns to guide their families through the dark. Ayan watched from the doorway as neighbors trudged through snow carrying lights he had helped create. His chest filled with a warmth he couldn't name. That night, as they sat by the fire, Kareem spoke. "You came here thinking life was about speed and ease," he said. "But real strength is built slowly, like these lanterns. It comes from patience, from care, from doing something well even when no one is watching. In the end, the light you give the world becomes your own guide." Ayan didn't answer immediately. He thought about his city friends, their rush for shortcuts, their endless comparisons. He thought about his own complaints. Then he looked at the glowing lantern on the table. "I understand now," he said softly. "It's not just a lantern. It's a piece of someone's heart." The old man smiled. "Exactly. And if you want a bright life, you must build it piece by piece. No one can hand it to you." Spring eventually came. Ayan left the mountain town, but he carried one of his lanterns with him. In the city, he began teaching children how to make small wooden crafts. He spoke to them of patience, skill, and giving more than you take. Slowly, his workshop filled with young people eager to learn, their hands shaping their own light for the world. Years later, when people asked Ayan about his success, he would think of Kareem. "Everything I know about living a meaningful life," he'd say, "I learned from a man who made lanterns."